Hey, good morning, folks. We're going to do some. We're doing some artwork today, so it's going to be called. We're making an adventure for Dungeons and Dragons. You can see the book cover here on screen. It's called Crystals of Mabar. Mabar is the plane of undeath and darkness in the world of Eberron. So, crystals of Mabar are famously known for their necrotic and black energy. So. If you can harvest crystals of Mabar, you can create basically like material that can animate the dead. Essentially, it's like sprinkle this dirt on them, and the dead will rise. That's the kind of material that we're looking at. So necromancers found an artifact and a ritual that would, when you feed it enough life force, will create a manifest zone to the plane of Mavar, which is like basically like a transition zone where the realities overlap. That's what manifest zones are, is when outer planar realms overlap with reality and you can experience it. So this artifact and ritual create a manifest zone so powerful that it terraforms the environment to become Mabar. So the soil becomes necrotic and becomes crystals of Mabar, and from it all sorts of unnatural plants grow. So the characters are exploring this unnatural space, looking for missing people, not realizing, or potentially, depending on what plot hook you use, knowing that there is an artifact at play here, and that if you find the artifact, you'll find the necromancers. But sometimes, depending on what kind of a scenario you're playing, you don't necessarily know anything about what's going on. You just know there's people missing, and you got to go to town. You get deputized by the local sheriff to explore the idea, because the sheriff doesn't think it's anything, but they can't ignore it. So they have to send mercenaries, characters like yourselves, upstanding citizens that want to have an opportunity to give back to the Karnath motherland. So you're deputized, which gives you the authority to ask questions, go anywhere that you want, and if necessary, dole out justice as needed. So you've got a lot of latitude in the adventure with legal authority backing you up, but you're isolated and you're under a time crunch because people are being killed, even though there could be the ritual is 48 days. That's the cycle of time that it takes for Sephiroth to get the moon of Mabar to make a loop, to go from a new moon to new moon again. 24 days for a full moon, and then 24 days again to become a new moon. You run the ritual from new moon to new moon. It's 48 days long, and at some point you have to start sacrificing people because it saps hit dice every day and doesn't let you get any back or any sleep. So you're stuck doing this ritual for over a month while you're trapped in this ever-growing crystal shard that just basically encompasses you after a while. But what the ritual caster doesn't know is while that's happening, they're being liquefied inside and sustained by the crystal, and at the end of the ritual they reform into a Yugoloth, an Ultraloth, specifically the high CR commanding demon type of the Yugoloths, and it opens up a literal portal to Mabar. So threefold effect: manifest zone that you can profit from by pulling soil for necromancy and exotic plants for alchemy. The manifest zone permanizes and it opens up a portal to Mabar, and the caster becomes an Ultraloth. If you can stop the ritual early, all these things will collapse, and the instead of being an Ultraloth, it'll end up being like an Archaloth, which is an inferior, almost like a bear, like a deeply intelligent bear killing machine in armored plating. It becomes that instead, and will rage across the landscape, almost unstoppable if you don't find a way to keep it from getting out of the ritual nexus and running forth. So fun little run and gun there for you guys. Let's see. Check. That's all my preliminary stuff. So we're going to be doing illustrations for this book today. And it looks like I have all my social medias taken care of. So let me rearrange my window here so you can see all the things. If you find today fun, I stream like this Monday through Fridays typically. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. And here's a bunch of other books that I've created already that are published on the DMsGuild. They all are my design ideas and artwork, though I often hire editors to help me with the technical bits. So book cover, let's get this out of the way. And hey, what's going on, Dragons? Good to see you, my man. Let's see, here's the page that we're working on today. And again, for those that aren't indoctrinated yet, it's a 16:9 format. So it on a normal viewing device, here you go, it fills the screen. Horizontally, it's 16:9, and each column is also 16:9. So you can focus one column on a time, or you can just look at the page as a whole, depending on the size of the device that you're using, what's convenient for your own vision. So 12-point font text makes it real easy to read, and each column is about 5 3/4 inches wide, with a gutter between the two of them. Nope, what is that? 5 inches, and then we've got half inch, half inch, half inch, half inch. So it's 17 inches across. Each column of text is 5 inches. There's a border. The gutters are a half inch. The top is a half inch. The bottom is a 3/4 inch with a half inch strip. Yeah, this is this strip here on the sides are a 1/4 inch each, with a 1/4 inch margin between the border and the actual text itself. So that's the framing that we have. I'm not finished with this framework, but this is an Eberron style look that I want to keep. I'm just going to go through and nitpick at it, because I'm a nitpicker at details and sometimes a bit of a perfectionist, which is an accepted flaw of an artist, a pretty good accepted flaw. Almost a feature, not a bug. But this is the design space that we're working inside of. And this is an illustration of Enrica, an NPC sent by the Silver Flame, who had been captured and subsequently escaped. She's in the cemetery. Let's look at the... There we go. Here's the cemetery map that she's running around inside of in this illustration. If you decide to use this optional plot hook, you'll find her in here, and she can lead you over to here, which ends up being a trapdoor. Here, I was working on this last night. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But our camera angle is roughly here. Yeah, like position, like say here, looking past and through this column where Enrica is perched, right? So here's the gazebo that we're on here, and seeing her back here and the steps that go down here, and then the ground. So the soldiers that the Red Wolf mercenaries, sorry, the Emerald Claw Zealots. So there's the Red Wolf mercenaries that are hired by the Emerald Claw. The Emerald Claw is performing the ritual. Emerald Claw Zealots are basically tough like veteran mercenaries. So they've got some hit dice behind them. They aren't just a one-shot, one-kill. But then the Emerald Claw, faking military background, because necromancers all had military backgrounds until the end of the last war, so they're leveraging that to hire these mercenaries to perform this special mission to explore this necromancy zone before it causes trouble to the rest of the community, is what the story is. So they hire the Red Wolf mercenaries that were retired from Karnath military and specialized in military policing and wrangling undead. So this is like exactly up their aisle, because all the undead in this manifest zone is animating freely and acting independently. So this cemetery had 120 troops buried in it, plus sergeants and a lieutenant, and they're all represented in here as ghouls or skeletons, wraiths, and special a unique undead boss that's inside the crypt here. So here's our camera angle, and we're looking across here, so we can see in the distance that there's another gazebo that lines up in our field of vision, or rather it clips it. So I want to go back into here, and you can see the cemetery here. About here there should be more pathway, so I'm going to jump back into here. and work the lines a little bit more. Let's grab our color cue. I see text. Hold on. Let me catch up with you here in a second when I get my toolbox open. Tools. Did you bring your fucking tools? Hey, Fox, how you doing? Thanks, my man. I really appreciate you, dude. I appreciate all you guys. You guys are fucking fantastic. Let's see. Let's move to here. And we'll drop this down a little bit thinner. And nope, we're gonna go from here to here, and that should be the same angle. And because it's further away, I need to flatten it out. So skew. And about like that. Let's line that up. Nope, that's looking clumsy as shit. There we go. Let's straighten that line here. I'm thinking about after 9th level in the mega dungeon that we've been running the martial powers playtesting for. I'm really thinking about just running this adventure with people using martial powers. I'm psyching myself up for it. I know I'm going to do it. I would want a stable table of 5 people to run this adventure. Have 3 people running martial powers and 2 people running full casters, and just play. Just play this adventure. I have all the assets, right? I mean, it's good level. I mean, it's designed for 7th and 8th level characters, but I can always just scale up the encounters. That's never an issue. It's the framework that you need for the adventure. That's what's helpful to the DMs. Is like, what is the environment and what's the circumstances going on with this place that we can play inside of. And actually, that is an accurate line there, so I don't want to change that anymore. But yeah, that is totally what's on my mind this weekend. Is hey, maybe you should run Crystals and Mabars as a playtest, because I mean it's supposed to be 7th and 8th level characters, but we're currently playtesting 9th level characters, and I think I'm going to be done with the dungeon when the characters hit 10th level. That was always the original intention. I kind of hoped I'd be able to like further extend the dungeon up to 14th level, and maybe I could, but I mean, I got to admit, guys, it takes a lot of fucking work to build out dungeon spaces. It's a lot of design time spent, and I value the martial powers playtesting that we're doing, and I think a mega dungeon has been an appropriate environment for it, and I learned some interesting lessons about about pacing, and you always learn something when you run a campaign, and being able to debrief yourself and recognize the lessons that you may or may not have been aware you were learning at the time. You can gain that information through self-awareness and decent debriefings. And we just had a boss fight against an artificer, a lich artificer. That's probably the best way to put it. Instead of being a lich wizard, it was a lich artificer, and it was a dragon-born creature. Super fun. It was a fun fight. It was able to summon ghasts. I was able to summon wraiths, which are the characters are 8th level right now. So wraiths are a good fight for 8th level characters. Plus, it had melee and spellcasting abilities, but our wizard used a fireball as his opening move, and she so she lobbed the fireball into the center of where the artificer lich was working, and ended up there's a massive mana crystal that was suspended above the workstation that got fireballed, and in the ensuing explosion, the crystal was already damaged from age and earthquake activity. It had already twisted its frame structure, so it was precarious at best. And fireball set it off and made the crystal fall and crash to the floor. And that ended up disabling all of his lair features. Like they took away his lair on their opening shot, and they know the gem is worth like 10,000 gold pieces or something crazy, and they can channel black, white, and green mana through it to create effects for them. But they fireballed it, and it was a great move because then the Artificer Lich wasn't going to be able to use that crystal to do all sorts of black energy sort activities against them. So it was a great decision. It really was, but it took away lair actions from me immediately, and what a good move! What a good move! I could have killed them all if they had not been able to just blip that out of the game. It's like, what player, it doesn't matter who your team is or what their skill level is, they always just instinctively find this way to fuck over the DM's plans. Just like that's just like the walkaway story from RPGs. Like, if you boil down what is a role-playing game, it's one person comes up with a plot and a means of executing the plot in a story environment, and your character's job, whether you really know it or not, is to completely fuck up those plans in whatever way you think is most amusing and fun to do. Slapstick, Scooby-Doo, Buffy Vampire Slayer, Dirty Dozen, and Glorious Bastards. All of these character scenario concepts are viable in an RPG game. So the DM creates the scenario and all the actors and stuff that are operating inside the space, and they're all trying to achieve a goal. And your character, and because you want to stimulate activity, that's obviously going to be a goal that the players decide that they are opposed to and want to stop. And that unleashes their imagination to come up with whatever solutions that they want to just completely wreck what's going on in this environment. And more ongoing games is you don't know what's going on in the environment to explore it. Then you find out, form an opinion about whether you like what's going on here or not, and either help support its creation or destroy it some way that's going to amuse you in either way. That's a role-playing game. Add rules to say what you can and can't do and how quickly you can do something, and is there any threat or risk involved to your character's health or survival or overall goals if they succeed or fail at a particular task. And once you define those parameters, that's your core rule set or your game engine to make the game go, and character creation process to interact with that machinery. And then once each player has a user interface, a character to interact with the world inside the game physics that you built, then you can, if you want, add a personality to that person and give them their own personal goals that may or may not mesh with the overall environmental goals that have been created by the DM. And then you have potential character conflicts because they could have opposing goals that are tangential to what their actual goal is in the adventure. So they are all on board, but they want to do it different ways, and that could get in each other's ways or sabotage each other's projects. Or they could actively attempt to shut down each other's goals, knowing that only one person is going to win in this adventure or whatever, and then start actively sabotaging or disabling other characters to eliminate competition, which is what you would typically call an evil PvP campaign. But there's a lot of different ways to run your game, and I am completely pontificating this morning. So how about I get back to work? Get something done. That sounds like a great idea, Kearney. So here's our structure. I'm happy with it. Oh, that's right. We need to build a gazebo here, back in the back. So let's build a gazebo. Let's look at our map here. Yeah, there's only a 10-foot gap from the dirty soil and the gazebo. Over here it's 20 feet, so there's more distance. So we have, these are basically a 10-foot milestone here, or line, And that means I need to make the guards a little bit smaller. Wrong one. Let's go with this one. Guards. Transform. They need to be more like that. Yeah, that's more appropriate. That also means that those headstones are a little big. Oh, the cascading consequences of resizing an element. But that feels about right. And oh yeah, Enrica needs to be a little bit smaller. We already knew that though, so let's free transform and resize her a little bit. That feels better. Yeah, that actually fits pretty good. But now a lot of the page is not emphasizing the characters. So how about we increase the frame, or rather the illustration. Free transform. Bring this down, maybe like that. Let's go back up to our references to find our 3 points. And okay, well, it looks like Enrica is dead on point, and that's the most important part. Is one of these 4 points should be where basically the eye line of one of the the major character in the image, whatever your most important point of interest is, should be on one of these 4 points and catty corner from that point. So diagonal across from it. If your main point is here, whatever your main point of interest is, whatever is most interesting to that main point or relevant or complementary to that point should be at the opposite. So here it's Enrica keeping an eye on guards walking by, trying to stay hidden, and looking downward, which matches the scale and positioning of the structure in the illustration that the characters are engaged on. Like Enrica has climbed up onto this gazebo. These guards are at the surface level, and we know there's like a 10-foot difference in elevation here. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the top. So that's 10 feet worth of distance. Is 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet to get up to the top of the gazebo. Tall steps, but not outrageous. I think it kind of goes with the goose stepping idea of what the Karnathi could be perceived as in the past. But there's going to be fog that's going to obscure. Well, if we look at the illustration here, we have one row of cemetery. Oh, we have two rows of headstones, and then all of them have already been unearthed, and the undead have crawled out of it to go menace the world elsewhere. So now that we have that in place, let's go back into our cemetery and find our. Let's get the map out of the way here. Get out of here, monkey. You too. Get out of here. We're good. Our lines are good. Drop back down. Cemetery headstone. I can probably hide that one and grab these and duplicate that layer. And then bring them to here. And then free transform so they're the same size as the headstone back here. It's a little big, so let's free transform and reduce the size. Let's reduce it a little bit more. A little bit more. I'm gonna conceal that one. Something like that, but both of these need to be smaller. Transform. Because scale. There we go. And that feels better. There, that's the proper distance. Cool, now I can grab these again. Copy, paste. Resize them down to the same size as the headstone that we're overlapping. There we go. Hello. Hey, John. Double juice. I'm a Totino's man myself. But cheers. Also, Red Baron. That was the bee's knees back in the day. You know you were having a special night if you're getting the Red Baron. Let's see. Here is our location. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 8, and the fog will be too thick to see the third row, but we'll see the starts of the flooded water here. And then the gazebo in the background will just be a shadowy shape, so we don't have to do a lot of detail. But I do need to, hold on, let's grab that again real quick. What's our proximity? Just a few feet. So that distancing there is good. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's legit. Okay. So, okay, great. So we're seeing that my perspective is off. And hold on real quick. We can fix that. Let's just get this taken care of here real fast. Like that. Fix it. There. That's fixed. 1, 2, 3, 4. So actually, where are we at? Here and here. This should actually be here. And so I need to tilt that. Skew. More like that. Yeah, that feels right. Copy paste, and then we duplicate to extend the line. Then we merge down. Thank you, timely timer. Okay, that's good for now. Cemetery stones, cemetery stones. That's too many cemetery. That is too many here, but I can merge this down. Merge down. And then here. Okay, now we're starting to get things in perspective again. Pardon the pun. What's going on, guys? I can be trusted to not use any metagame knowledge I know of in the program and VOR and D&D Beyond. Hi all. Let's see. Okay, cool. So let's get back to our headstones. Now that we have the proper ratio, I'm just going to grab these stones again and then duplicate. This is just an easier way to do it. Instead of trying to fix the other one, just redo it. So I'm going to grab here and I'm going to pull it this way. And our goal is to have these stones, get out of the way, guards. Let's bring these down in size just a smidge. About like that is probably correct. Let's let that sit for a second, bring our guards back in. Let's look at our reference map. It's every 10 feet is a stone. So I can actually push these away a little bit more. Ooh, that feels pretty good. Let's free transform. Let's give this just a smidge of a skew. Bring it down just a bit. I think that's gonna help clean up our angles a little. I feel like that's too far. Let's bring it in a bit. about like that. I think that feels. Let me bring that in just a smidge. There we go. And now I want to shorten these things. You gotta go, buddy. Bump, 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 bump. There we go. And then here and here. Let's just experimentally grab both of these and squunch them down a bit. It's gonna fuck up our angles, so we're gonna have to go back in, free transform, and skew to get them back into perspective. But it looks like that worked. No, let's a little less. Free transform and skew. And let's give that. That feels a little off. How about like that? That feels pretty good. And now we can grab this one here and make sure it is properly. These need to be a little bit larger. There. And that should fit. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Let's go back to our map, make sure our horizon and our walk lines are correct. Okay. So off here in the distance, got that. What is this? Gazebo up here? Yes, it is. Line here. That feels about 10-ish feet at this distance. And then we need to have from about here. Yeah, about here. Let's see if I can get that line right. Does that feel right? It's not bad. It's a decent line. I think we can make that work. Actually, it's a little off. So hold on real quick. Let's grab this, cut and paste that into a separate layer here. We're going to skew. But we only have to change the angle just a smidge. So skew, and then we're going to there. That feels really, really good. And here, that I think needs to skew up just a smidge as well. Come on, Kearney. Doesn't have to be that tough. Free transform, skew. Oh my god. There. See, it was just a bit of a tilt, but that's we're talking about perspective. Those little alignment issues like cascade into bigger and bigger problems the more you try to get the architecture to fit together. If you have an angle off, it's not gonna tooth correctly in the gears, you know. I am classified as the rules sage. Oh, right on, my guy. Hey, this stream was good timing. I only just finished a Krug Smash playlist. I don't know what that means. Is that a? Oh my God, this looks to be about what are these gazebos are 20 by 20. So, let's see. How does this line up with the walkway? Yeah, it's on the outside edge. So yeah, this is actually the space that the gazebo is supposed to occupy. So that's fucking on point. We gotta make that like a lot smaller. So let's do that. This is the same gazebo that Enrica is on, but you'll see it in the distance, so that's going to help tie the map together on where everyone is positioned at. Here. And then here. The pedestal here. There. That's basically what Enrique's got going on. I'm going to grab that, copy paste, free transform, flip. Let's see if this works. It does. Free transform, skew. Bring it down a bit. Now I need to squish it because the angle is actually wrong. So let's bring that in like that, which means we'll grab this and bring it in as well. How about like that? That and this, they need to tilt down a bit more. Let's try the perspective tool. Yeah, like that. Now we need to adjust here. Like that. Adjust here like this. Like, it's such a small who cares detail, right? But having it in there is going to give your eye some just subtle nods that everything here is in alignment. Don't worry about it. Like, if you can trick your eye into not paying attention to a detail because it just, I want your eye to go, oh yeah, I know what that is, and then just start filling in those details with imagination. That's like why Bob Ross environment illustrations are so cool, because he creates this illusion of volume that he isn't paying specific details towards achieving. So he ends up being able to create this illusion that there's things happening in the piece that aren't necessarily actually happening, but because of the amount of detail that he puts in on the front, your eye fills in that detail as you move further back into the piece, and further back into the horizon. It just fills in those little details for you because you convinced it in the foreground that this is the architecture that we're working with. These are the color and image patterns that we're using to represent things. So when you see less detailed versions of that same pattern in the distance, your eye immediately correlates for you. These are the same things, but they're located at different positions, one close and one far. So you can have simplified structures that are basically accomplishing the same thing here, and Bob's your uncle. That's my story. And since it's mostly behind this pillar here, your eye will automatically see through this to the architecture beyond and recognize, oh, okay, I see here's the edge here, here's an edge here. Steps here moving into the interior, and I can see on the other side that there's a pillar, so we know there's 4 pillars. There's one here, there's probably one here just out of view, and so 3 of these 4 pillars are out of view, but everything is lining up with the architecture, so it infers the space. And that's far enough back that it adds details of environmental stuff, and I can be content with that. So let's go back to our reference here again and look at 10 feet wide. Okay, cool. So that means we should see spots of, let's see, if we extend this line, we'll see just like a shred. Hold on, let's do this correctly. I want to grab this line here. Yeah, I want to grab that, copy paste, and line it up. Alas, earwax, it's not long enough. Let's try this again. Copy paste. I don't know how. Where'd you go? I don't know how far this line goes. There it is. So let's conceal the gazebo to see if we can get this aligned. Just a bit short. Copy paste. go. And then paste these 3 layers, equals merge, equals full line. You can add the gazebo back in for perspective. And that line is out of view, and that doesn't feel right, so I now get to skew. So let's go to free transform and skew. That feels like, I feel like I should be seeing that there, and that means that I need to get this aligned. And that means I need to bring the whole thing down after all. Here, and then let's skew it some more. There we go. That's about right. That means that this line is off, so we need to go into our gazebo and go into our line art and go after our actual lines here and grab this and let's cut that free and drop it back in, and then we can free transform and skew this perspective a smidge like that. Still too much. More like that. There we go. And that lines up. That's this line back here can shift. Here. Well, look at that. It's stumped. It's as if I knew I was going to come back through here someday. Free transform. Skew. All paths lead to stairs. Hey. Hey, Things. How you doing? YouTube that uses the game Dwarf Fortress to tell stories. Dwarven Fortress is cool as shit, man. I've played it a few times. It is too dense for me, but God, I respect that project. It is a cool game, and I love the details. I love like the dead cat problem they were having, where they had like a unit of alcohol and they didn't have a way of dividing up a unit, but a single unit of alcohol was lethal to would actually kill a cat from alcohol poisoning, because they had alcohol poisoning programmed into the game, of course. So yeah, poisoning to death. Hold on, I need to fix this tower now. I can take this top part of this structure here to here. See how this angle is wrong now compared to this angle? And this angle and this angle are lining up. So this flaw was always here. It wasn't until I built the more distant architecture that I realized that my perspective was off. So this was apparently always intended, and I get to witness it. There we go. Now we're in alignment. This one feels a little off now. So, but again, we've got that cute little gap there. Jump up here to the top of the page and connect them both. And then here for transform. And we're going to skew. And now that is much better aligned. Push that up a smidge. There we go. Yeah, all of that now feels pretty good. And I think this gazebo's a little like tall. I think I can bring it down on the page a smidge. So that's the next thing that we need to do. I know this stuff's a pain in the ass and it's like slow, grueling work, but this is how we make the things happen, you know? There, and no, yes, here. Cut, paste. I'm going to call this one Distant Gazebo. Okay, that is thicker than this, and that is a problem. Man. So that's there. That's there. We need this to go up. There. And now I think I need to skew. Free transform. Like that. Yeah, so it lines up better. And that makes me think that I need to lower those down a bit. And free transform. A little bit bigger. Skew that down. Like there. Let's try a shot. Here to here. Hide the gazebo. I knew we were going to get to here. And get out of the way, Enrica. Hey, those lines are actually on point. That's fantastic. I did it correctly. Nice. Small celebration, and let's carry on. Here's that, and that, and where is this coming from? There it is. Yeah. That's on point. And it goes there like that. So let's add, no, here. Oop, that's my alarm. Keep me on track with my time. What time is it? 7:30. So we're still doing good. Underdark, what's up? I gifted my DM Veins of the Earth for last Christmas. Helped his campaign immensely. Haven't been so traumatized by Dro in Undermountain since 10. Under, I think my text is getting clipped. Into Underarm. Underdark. Nice. I have not heard of Veins of the Earth. I feel like I've heard of Veins of the Earth. Is that a subterranean dungeon crawl or like a hex crawler, like an underground hex crawler where you're generating like different angles of depth and stuff? Or am I thinking of something else? I'll just have to look it up, honestly. I'm now compelled. If you're on my Pins, if you're on my Discord server, you are welcome to drop a link in the open chat or in the role-playing game, wherever you want to drop it. But you're welcome to do so. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Who are you? Oh, got it. You're nobody. There we go. Otherwise, I'll probably eventually remember it and get to it myself. But color me compelled. Here, that feels a little stubby. It should probably be more like here. Which means that this needs to come in a little bit. Like that. And luckily these are out of view because this thing is an ugly mess right now. We'd have another pillar here. Eventually here. across like that. This should be taller, like this. That might be a little too tall. 2-ton tunic. Bring that down. Bring that over. Drop it down like that. There we go. Very good. Bring that in. How's this go? Like that. And this goes like that. Now I'm going to mince over this detail for a while. So strap in, buddies. Luckily, this is actually hidden behind the other gazebo pedestal in the foreground. And we won't actually have to. Let's merge all these down just to fuse it up. That seems accurate. Merge down. Is that everybody? Thank you. Gotta change that angle. It has to be a little bit more on the horizon line. There we go. We're looking downward from a higher angle, about 10, maybe 15 feet up. So we're going to be able to see tops of these lines because this is only 2.5 feet up, and this is ground level. So obviously we're going to see some elevation changes here. Here, that feels like pretty good lines. I don't have to be perfect with these at all because the whole environment is really aged, roughed up, and weather worn. So I don't have to worry about rough architecture back here at this distance. But I do want to make sure that we at least have the angles correct. So drop that in here like that. And let me pan out a little bit. Hey, you can, let's see, it's a system independent way to generate cave systems and advice to how to describe. Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah, like large overland caverns in the Underdark, and it deals with elevation shifts and stuff. You can archive magic when you shift focus a bit to still describing the place like moderately torchlit. I mean, yep. Yeah, I am familiar that this thing exists, but I haven't actually read it. So I'll put it on my agenda. Maybe I can implement some of its ideas in the current mega dungeon that we're running for Martial Powers. Maybe that would be a way for me to extend the life from 9th level to 13th level by expanding the reach of the Underdark setting that we're inside of and scaling out a little bit. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how the system rocks, and how well I can generate stuff with it. It goes like that, and that goes like that, and this goes in. We have a step here. Needs to be higher. And this one like that. There we go. Let's be like this. And here, that's a little off. feels more on point. And the whole thing still feels like it's too tall. So let's bring that down. And where are you at? Cemetery stone, stone. Foreground. There's a lot of scrap. Right. Trash. Come on, buddy. Thank you. Work with me here, bud. Work with me here. Thank you. Let's see. That needs to be here. Doink, doink, doink. Oh, okay. Somehow you got mixed in with all this. So we're going to cut you free there. 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 If I drop the gazebo, it skews the line. That is a mild problem. So if I bring it back up again, it's back in alignment. But it feels a little off. Yeah, maybe I can get away with scrunching it a little bit. And then skew just a touch. And perspective. Transform. What is going on way out here that I need? Nothing. Get out of here. Free transform. There we go. Now I'm going to hit this with the perspective tool real quick. That will help it pop a little. I can bring this here, and now I can squinch it down to get it back in line. And let's free transform. Squish it in a bit, and then skew a little bit more, and that should have it lined up pretty nicely. Now let's put our, almost completely blocks it. Hey, we know it's there, so I mean that's not wasted effort. We're just putting trees in front of a mountain, just like Bob. Nothing different about that at all. 10 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot. Soil, soil, soil. So 10 foot, let's go back down to here. Hey, what's going on? Stuff ain't for 5e though, because some systems designing for the exploration rules aren't made for that, and on top of the madness, stuff requires squares, RP, and bind. I see. Both are good, but Fantasy is just better. Oh, got it. It's a different. It's a more. It sounds like it's a more of a collaborative effort than what traditional D&D dungeon delving is. Which is a legit role-playing vibe. So, cheers. Yeah, that feels right still. Still good, still good, still good. Let's grab this line. Copy, paste. Now, free transform, skew. Bring that down a bit. That feels about right. And that would technically be wall, I believe. Yeah, 10 feet beyond this gazebo is wall. The mist will be thick enough that we can't see that far, but I want it to exist so that we know that we can see it that far. Let's get this gazebo out of the way again real quick. Get out of the way, old gazebo. There we go, 10 feet. So like roughly like that. Let's raise that up a bit. There. So, edge of the wall is like around here. It's the actual point, but that's out of view. All of this is going to be obscured. Like anything beyond this gazebo is going to just be obscured out with fog, and then this will be lightly, like all of this is going to be lightly obscured. This whole strip here, and then back in this corner here is going to be heavily obscured. So this this gazebo is on the edge of lightly obscured fog, so it'll just be more of a shadowy shape structure. And then these guys will have some detail, but they'll also be partially washed out. And then the gazebo and Enrica are the only two that are actually inside a far, like central enough to the illustration to not be partially fogged out. There's like 20 feet is clear, and then from 20 feet to 40 feet is lightly obscured, and then anything beyond 40 feet is heavily obscured, meaning you cannot see it through the fog. So for this structure, this is 20 feet, and so that this is our radius, our maximum range. Right, these guys are right on the edge of not being lightly obscured. And then beyond that is another 20 feet to this back line here, and beyond this point is heavily obscured. So we can see like over here is going to extend beyond the 20-foot reach here of this gazebo. Here's 20 feet, another 10 feet, and that's catty corner 20 feet away. So this tip here is in a circular. This line is basically our 20-foot mark, and then sliding back this way would not be obscured until about midpoint, like right here, midpoint on the right here is our point of light obscurement. So this will start to be 20 feet and then 40 feet. So basically anything like halfway through, this is going to be nothing but like wispy shadow. This will be basically denser, thick shaped shadow with some texture to it. Beyond this line is the fog wall. This wall will not be visible at all. It will just be a very faint shadow. And then there's water that's here that extends on over this way. And all of that's going to largely be obscured. So the actual elements that we have to worry about, these are literally all the elements in the piece that we need to worry about. Foreground, full clarity. Back here, lightly obscured. Beyond the stone, like the stones and the gazebo, just basically a shape, like a darkened shape. And then beyond that, fog. And then we'll have fog, like wisps of fog and stuff drifting through here. So it's not a huge, there's not a lot of detail going on beyond that. So this is all playing out real good. Right, good. This should be the furthest back. Here, 749. So I'm going to the dentist today. I need to bounce out of here somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So I think I'm going to shut down at 8:30. So I'm going to play with this. We got like 40 minutes left. So that's, yeah, I'm going to stick to this for another 40 minutes, and then we'll be out of here. So I'm enjoying the progress that we're making. I don't want to let it go. Luckily, I've got my I've got this this handy dentist appointment today that's allowing me to work a little late. That is let's see. Let's take this one to Tombstones. And this one is the back gazebo, like this. And then we'll call this ground. Tombstones, gazebo, ground. We can now delete that. Whoa, wait a second. Now we can safely delete this. Color. What kind of color we're dealing with? That is interesting. Let's knock those out. And this will be this is ground. So that goes with ground here. This is all line. And this is color on the ground. 42%. 42%. Ground back to 100%. There we go. I'm arranging layers right now because now that we have it more properly organized and we know what we're actually doing here. We can lay stuff out more proper. So that is distance. This is ground as well, so that does belong there. This is going to be let's say dense fog. And then ground. And we need to start shaping up the ground. So we're going back to just blocking colors in. Now that we have the full architecture that we need, we better understand where do we need to put the different layers of ground and blah blah blah, the texturing, all the base colors and stuff. So we'll push this out here to the corner, and then we'll sweep across to here. We'll fill that in. Make some progress here. I'm enjoying this. So I've gone through the document, and it looks like I need about 11 more illustrations after this one. And that should, by that point, when we finish those 11 illustrations, like this is like creature art I didn't realize that I had, some little pocket vignette illustrations, like in the cemetery we're going to have some illustrations of like the mausoleum and the sarcophagi in there. It's just like some very mild spot art, and like I think a group photo of like Karen and the Houndsman working together. They're the main NPC villains in the adventure. So a couple little illustrate we need to do an ultra loft for concluding the campaign or extending the campaign. So like if the Yule-Loth becomes an ultra loft, we need an illustration for that. We don't have one currently. We need to do the quest giver as well as the quest giver and um, um, environmental art for the gatekeepers, which we'll do after this illustration. And like we need to do an animated. We need to do the safe and crystals. We need to make an illustration for that. So we've got a number of illustrations we still need to do before we're going to be able to call this thing done. But I'm really loving the progress that we're making. So, meanwhile, while that's happening, some illustrations I can work on off screen if they seem like they're boring, more technical. You know, if they don't seem like they're as interesting, then I have the opportunity to hold on. Let me grab some green here. Apparently I want to mess around in the background right now. Oh, right, that's the line art. Line art from the ground, yes? Yeah. And this one's going to be back here, but that is completely irrelevant, so I can get rid of that. There we go. Back on task. So I've this weekend I was able to get basically all of the maps onto all the pages of the PDFs. So we have to build the we have to build the PDF first. Like we have the text of the adventure that's broken up into its columns, and then the large spaces that we have between blocks of text. That's where illustrations go. These little corner pieces here, I'm not convinced that they need illustrations down there. Maybe like something really like some tombstones or like an open grave over here or something maybe, but I'm not feeling a lot of pressure to put an illustration in this spot. It needs to generally the space needs to be something similar in size to this or more, like basically 1/6 of a page is generally where I start filling in illustrations. So 1, 2, 3 columns high. It's like here would be a third, and then here would be a third, and then here would be a third. This is almost a, ninths, 1/9 of a page. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, basically a grid. If you broke this up into a grid, if there was like a blank space here, I would be compelled to put an illustration there. This is half, a little bit more than half the third of the page space that's available. So I don't feel compelled to fill that, but if something jumps out at me as interesting, I can put like a little sketch or something there, maybe some texture of some sort, but I'm still sorting that out. So once we get all the illustrations dropped into all of the pages of Photoshop files, we'll then strip out the text and just basically make just a big image of it, and then drop that image behind the text in Microsoft Word. I still need to hyperlink everything in Microsoft Word to go to their proper locations. And like for the example, optional part 2 optional encounter, escape prisoners. I'll want to for instance, if the adventure starts in part 2, area 11, then I'll want to hyperlink part 3, area 11 here, so you can click on it and it'll immediately take you to that location. It's like I need to string all that stuff up, but I've been hesitant to do so because when I drop illustrations into the book, I start seeing how things are lining up, and if I need to make any revisions on text, I want to do so. So what I'll probably end up doing actually is hyperlinking everything before I stop dropping illustrations in, because these illustrations are going to make this a very large file. Even though I'm going to be dropping the resolution to 200 DPI to conform with the current formatting of the 220 max DPI. I could push Microsoft Word up to a 300 DPI, but that would make building this more than a megabyte or more than a gig. And I've built documents that are 800 megabytes in size inside of Microsoft Word, and then be able to seal them down to a 50 megabyte PDF or 40 megabyte PDF, but they're big documents. They're thick and bulky documents. So I'm scared of the computer choking on me adding all these 107 pages of 17 by 10 illustrations to the page, or to the document. It's going to make it potentially more than a gig. And I don't, that the AI claims that the maximum size of a Microsoft Word file is 500 megabytes, but I have Microsoft Word files that are 800 megabytes. And so I'm like, I'm calling bullshit on that. But we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Back to the illustration. Anyway, that's the thought process. So while I'm doing these 11 illustrations here on screen with you guys, on the back end, I'm dropping maps into pages and getting everything right here. Hold on. I'll actually show this off for you guys for a second. Let's see. I think it's page... what is it? Page... I don't think it's 50 to 68, but I'll open that one here just to open it. I'm looking for the cemetery map. I think this is the underground. Yeah, this is the underground. I've dropped all the maps into place, but now I want to move and arrange them. It's like they're all brushing up against the edge of the border. So right now, that's what I'm in the process of doing now. This is actually the wrong document. Let's go to 58 to 68. That's too high. Maybe 33 to 40. Hold on. Maybe I should label them better than just pages. Oh yeah, here we go. This is where I want to be. So here you can see, like, we have the map going. This is the old frame format. I'm going to swap out all the frames today, but or tonight or this weekend or whatever, soon. Anyway, I'm going to swap out all the frames. But you can see, like, we have fuzzed edges on the like anywhere that illustration or a map is interior facing, then it has a fade. Like we did this fade here, and if it goes to the border of the page, then it doesn't have a fade at the bottom. And so that allows us to do framework. But this is the hidden passage. So here is the gazebo that Enrica's hiding out. It's technically right here is where our camera is at, looking this way. And here is the underground, the secret passage that goes underground. Over here, it opens up. Like, this is a secret passage here, so this opens up, and I need to make this more clear about the door here and here. But this folds open this way, and then this opens from here this way. So this curves out this way, this curves in this way, and it opens up this secret passage that you can then take. It's a 600-foot tunnel, 5 feet wide, that goes down into the Underdark, and the Emerald Claw knows about it. So from the underground facility off here to the north, if you take the tunnel down and then you get to this ladder, and if you take this ladder up, it takes you here to this hatch that opens, and it opens up in, like, this is that gazebo. So if you're using this encounter, this gazebo, this hatch is open because Emerald Claw Zealots are hunting for an escaped prisoner. Or prisoners have escaped and they aren't being hunted yet, but they're afraid they are. There's a number of different scenarios where this hatch will be opened up, and it will be revealed if the players find it. Hey, there's a hatch, easy as that. Or your characters find escaped prisoners and, like, yeah, we came through a hatch over there. Or if you're prioritizing combat, instead of finding that hatch, you go into the crypt. And here's the entrance, 1, and then 2. Here are the sarcophagi, and each of those have wraiths in them. So there's 6 fucking wraiths that come after you. And then there's the Bone Knight Lieutenant Commander, and then this is where your secret passage is at if you decide to use it. Blip, here it is. and you open that up, and it'll take you down the tunnel to the underground passage. And if your team doesn't go into the crypt, well, you find the hatch in the gazebo that leads down, assuming that you want your characters to find the hatch at all, because you could not have a secret passage that extends from the crypt through the gazebo to the underground facility if you don't want to. It's not mandatory. The adventure assumes that your characters will come in here and fuck around with this place for a while, be found by Red Wolf mercenaries that are patrolling the area for loose undead. They get in trouble. You come and help them. They are thankful for your assistance. If you're playing the default plot hook, you can then flash your badge and say, hey, we're here on official Fort Bastion business. We've had reports of missing people, and this place is crawling with undead, so maybe there's some dots being connected there. Stupid grunts will say, you should talk to our Captain Carl Follis, and he'll figure out how to help you or whatever. And so they can lead you from the graveyard to the flooded fort, their waypoint, their transition point and dispersion camp for patrols going out. So they'll take you to the flooded fort, and at that point, if negotiations are continuing to go well, they'll take you eastward to the gatehouse where Captain Follis is at. And if those negotiations go well, you can go underground and start investigating stuff, and the Red Wolf mercenaries will not get in your way at all. The only thing left are the monsters and the Emerald Claw that you can then get through, because the Red Wolf mercenaries are already suspicious that there's weird stuff going on. They just don't have any proof yet. You showing up is all the proof that they need. Like, yeah, there's totally something going on here. We're right. But if you decide that the team is going to fight the Red Wolf mercenaries, then they can just be fighting you the entire time with a directive of especially get rid of adventurers. If just common people show up, whatever, let us know that they showed up so we can chase them down later and then sacrifice them. But if they're adventurers, kill them, because they're probably here trying to sabotage the place. And to be honest, 4 out of the 5 plot hooks are trying, or rather 4 out of the 6 plot hooks are trying to sabotage what's happening here. So they are completely justified in being paranoid that, yeah, these people are going to try to break this thing down and ruin it for us. So you got to get rid of adventurers. So if you want to have the mercenaries and the Emerald Claw and the monsters all working together against your characters, you can do that. If you want the Red Wolf mercenaries being sympathetic to your cause and concerned, it's just the Emerald Claw and the monsters that you have to worry about. And when you defeat the place, you could, if you take over the region as your bastion using the bastion mechanics and the facilities that we have, the Red Wolf mercenaries can then ask to be employed by you to become the soldiers that are populating the barracks. That is one of the facilities built into the final dungeon. So conveniently called the underground facilities. So anyway, that's the narrative for you. See, this map, I can't make this one large enough to go to the border here and here. That would push it out halfway into this little half column here, and I need that for the key. So I haven't built the keys to any of these yet, like water and stone wall, top of wall, cobblestones. This is cobblestone path covered with crystal grit. And this is the wall that's surrounding it, and you can see the top of the walls are a different color than the normal cobblestone that's here, because the facade has been scraped away over time. So the cobblestones down here are largely covered in crystals, and you can see that same cobblestone material up here on the top. But where the facade gets scraped off, it has this darker, more stained color to it. It's not as resistant. So the marble is stripped away over time, leaving granite underneath that's being weathered and then bore into, and then the crystals are growing on them. There's no cobblestones here. It's just dirt, right? And all this dirt is now converting into the coffee crystals of the crystals of Mabar. And you can just literally come through here and farm this 5-foot space, and that's worth 2 gold. So each of these 5-foot squares is worth 2 gold pieces worth of material components to turn into powder that can be used for necromancy rituals and raising the dead and shit. And then you have the sinkholes here where the water, because it's constantly, the environment, it's the rainy season, so it's always raining. So there's constantly rain going on, so everyone's sloshing through puddles and mud and stuff, and the nature of the plane, the Mabar and necrotic energy that's leaching from the Nexus into this environment. It's a 5-mile area, total space that the Manifest Zone occupies, and each 5-foot space is worth 2 gold pieces. And if you scrape up all of the crystals off of the ground, give it a day and it'll be there again. So it's as long as you don't hit bedrock, you can just keep digging out soil and clay and mud from the environment, scrape it out as material components that can have been used for necromancy rituals, which is you're just basically using dirt. As soon as you get this Manifest Zone up, and if you can permanize it, just dirt in the Manifest Zone is going to be valuable material components. It's a massive money-making opportunity, and a huge way for the Emerald Claw to provide themselves with basically bags of undeath. They can just like bap you like puff bomb a corpse, and then it can rise up as undead. So like that's like that. If you're a necromancer, this is compelling space. Like this is super interesting space to be in. If you hate undeath, this is something you absolutely have to fucking tear down. So it's really fun. There's a lot of options there for characters to decide what their morality is and how they want to manipulate the stuff that they find. But yeah, I couldn't take this map and show all of it and push it out to the edges, so I had to do fuzzed edges on the sides. I'm not happy with that, but that's how it is. And then here's like the entrance into down here, Point 1. This is, oh, these guys are just a little bit off. Hold on. I'm glad I'm here. Let's do this. And go inside here. Grab those and push those down a smidge. There we go. Yeah, those are all good. There. Like that's a lot of what I'm doing right now off screen is nudging these things around, like getting their corners aligned up on the pages. They're still a little off. There. So breaking, like I had to break down this map into its individual position pieces. Everywhere there's a dot is another location that needs to be detailed. So I broke down all of these into their individual little components. Like here's the southern gazebo. Here are empty graves that we can see. So here's a bunch of empty graves, and that's here the empty graves. So like that's position. That's location 3. Empty graves. So when characters explore gravestones throughout the region, they notice the graves are empty aside from pooling rainwater. The graveyard is a boggy quagmire of decayed plant matter and foul rain. Worn headstones protrude from the muck. Most graves are empty now, dug up seemingly from within. The open pits slowly fill with rotten rainwater. The specific details about those buried here are inconsequential to the adventure, so the headstones can be unmarked. However, the DM can choose to add any lineages or historical figures that connect to the character's backstories as needed. A few surnames to inspire additional ideas include, and these I pulled out of some of the Karnath-related content that was on the DMsGuild. So roll a d12 table, and here's a bunch of names. I have an error here. I have to fix that one. Let me mark that real quick. There. And that page is now incomplete. This page is complete though, because I have a lock on it, so I don't need to do any more with this page. But again, it's these different areas: the Rancid Ponds, the Western Gazebo where we find Enrica, and the Northern Gazebo where the secret passage is not evident right now because we haven't decided to actually use that optional encounter. If we get into the mausoleums, like here's a large enough space that I felt like, yeah, I can drop an illustration in here. And so these are a rough sketch of one of the sarcophagi where wraiths will sprout from. And then we have another gap here that has a map in it for the portal opening up, but there's a key that you can find at the Southern Gazebo or in the hands of the Emerald Claw. That's in the shape of the plane of Mabar, the symbol for Mabar. And you can drop on the ground here. There's a diagram of the different planes that orbit Eberron, including Mabar. So if you drop the key into the Mabaran symbol and then twist it, it'll pop open. It pops open this portal, this hatch, so you can find the ladder and go down in there. So there's a little bit of a doodad that you can find. If you decide to mess around here at the Southern Gazebo, you can find the key. Or if you decide to use the other variant plot hooks that we're working on currently over here, these guards will have the key on them. So if you capture them or kill them and loot them, you'll find the key. And Enrico will be, yeah, that key goes to the hatch that's over there. I use that hatch to escape. And if you want, the Emerald Claw guards leave the hatch open because they're in a hurry to chase after Enrica before she disappears into the fog and gets away. So they don't waste their time with the action interactions of closing the hatch. They just book after her and leaving it open. And if you can defeat them with her, she can lead you back and here's the hatch. Oh yeah, they have the key. Here you go for that. And now you have free access to the underground facility, completely circumnavigating the Red Wolf mercenaries if you want to reduce the length of the adventure to just cut to the chase. And if you're doing a one-shot, then you can have your characters show up, appear via plane shift with the Emerald through the Silver Flame plot hook, plane shift into the cemetery. There's a bunch of undead. Now you're fighting undead until the DM's decided that you've been wrestling with the chew toy long enough. Now let's start moving the plot forward, introduce Enrica, unless the team finds the crypt and decides to go check out the crypt, then they can find the secret passage that's already open and you don't have to worry about Enrica. She can still be captured in prison if you want, so you can rescue her and all the other villagers when you go down the tunnel. It takes you out literally next to the prison. And on the other side of the prison is the actual nexus where the ritual is being performed. So you can fuck around in the cemetery and then immediately cut to the end where you're fighting the necromancers that are producing undead and free all the prisoners and win the day. So you can reduce this down to a one-shot, basically a combat discovery sort of adventure if you wanted to, or you could drop this into a longer campaign. Don't include the secret passages up front, so that the team doesn't find out about the secret passages until they've already gotten into the dungeon and start looking around. And if they get cornered at some point, like in the corner, there's literally the passage that leads to the cemetery. So if they need to yeet, there's a multiple exit points inside of the dungeon that they can find and escape, and then take a long rest and then come back and siege the place some more. And meanwhile, they're going to have depleting resources, and if the Red Wolves turn against them, then they're not going to get in the way. If they do, there's only about 100 of them. Your characters will eventually mow through all of them. They'll surrender, and then you're going back into the dungeon to deal with the monsters and the Emerald Claw necromancers that are down there. So, but I've been rambling because I'm really excited about this. There is an end point that I can see. It's all coming together. I am absolutely ecstatic. So, long story short, too late, right, guys? Sorry, a bit of a tangent there, but I'm legit excited. So, I can see the end point. There's a lot of illustrations. I mean, there's still like a dozen illustrations for us to do, so it's going to be a little while before it's done. But we're continuing to push our way through the document to get from point A to B, and there's like 1,000 alphabets in between. This is the line, and let's do this, and then make this color. Get out of the way. There you go. And now let's go tombstones. We got line, and now add in the extra layer. Push line above. Call this one color. There we go. And here. Actually, let's do it this way. Fill these in. These headstones are still pretty fucking big. I should probably reduce their size. I mean, those are good sized stones. Yeah, I think I need to reduce their size. All right, nitpicking. Let's get picky, knickers. I'm gonna drop this down here, and then we have to. 4. 1, 2. About like that. Yeah. Okay, here. Let's take this and bring that away from the, about like that feels right. Here. These two are flooded. That one still exists. That one exists. And oh, wait a second. 1, 2. Oh no, yeah, we're doing great. Huh. That's 30 feet. Okay, so this line of gravestones does need to be closer. Here. No, is that right? That feels pretty good. It feels actually it feels a little small. Let's push this out here like that. Reduce the size a bit. And then I think we need to change the perspective. Like that is probably accurate. Reduce the size a bit more. Free transform. Just a bit. There we go. That angle feels further away than those two. So that there's something. Maybe that perspective wasn't a good idea. Let's try fixing it. Here like that. Now these feel too tall, so let's perspective again and drop this down. Hey, what's going on, Text? Oi! Hey, Steve. As long as you do not mind shafts, Kyber. Yeah, there's Kyber underneath the dungeon. So if your team takes control of it and makes it your bastion, it becomes a waypoint that you can, like a retreat point that you can use back to your dungeon, and then just there's literally a sinkhole in one of the rooms that once it's flooded with water. It's a giant black pudding that's basically stoppering this hole. If you can get rid of the black pudding, it'll eventually drain the chamber, and it's just basically then a craggy, basically like a swimming pool with a giant hole in the bottom of it that will drop down into Kyber. And we have a small map that folks can look at. I need to hit save over here because we did a little bit of snudging around. I'm gonna save this and then get it out of the way. There we go. And get back to this. That still feels more appropriate because we'd have a third line back row back here. So let's actually go ahead and add that in. Duplicate the layer, and then yeah, this is looking right. Drop that down in size. How are we looking over here? Pretty out of proportion. So let's perspective. Push these back a little bit and then free transform. Small them up. Oh, I don't want to small them too much. That's probably... No, that's definitely off. Let's do... How do I want to do this? We'll undo that. That distance feels good. No, this is proper portioning. I just need to, yeah, I can afford to resize these down a little bit like that and keep that one off screen. This one over here. Still feels a little off. These stones aren't there. Okay, let's go back and look at our map to see what our water line is like. Middle two, and then back left. Yeah, they're still there, but it's all waterlogged. Tombstones. So those are good positions there. And then dense fog here. And then ground back here. Let's grab, let's just go with black for now. Stone, dirt. Between stone and dirt is going to be water. Oh yeah, that's right. Since we have these two stones are washed away completely, right? Double check that real quick. Yeah. These two midstones. This one's knocked down, so we won't be able to see it, and the other one's washed away. Okay, cool. So that is a necessary detail, and actually helps us out a lot. Because now I don't have to justify any of the third row. I can just have this one here, which is right now mostly behind guards, but we know it's there, and we know its sizing is good. So that sets our tempo for the rest of that, and that's actually very perfect. So now we can take our water here, and we'll go with a reduced dark. We'll go in here like this, basically like that. Let's get these guards out of the way for now. And that just continues to extend on into the murk. Hey, what's going on? I wonder, is there an adventure I can buy involving Dreaming Dark after all these dream bastards have more or less taken over a continent already and arguably more... you mean Sarlona? I don't know if there's any adventures in Sarlona specifically. If there is, I'm sure it's fucking cool. Because the Inspired are that's I love that segment of that culture. That's so neat. I question how viable like a freedom fighter campaign would be to try to rescue people from the dreaming. I don't know. I don't know about that. And these are all open graves, so I'm gonna drop that in here. This feels like proper distancing here and here, but it's starting to feel like it's getting cramped here. Like these, like this second row should actually be further away. Let's use perspective and let's do this instead. How about that for a twist? That actually feels more correct now. We got our third line back here. Technically, this should be in front of that, and this should be in front of that. So this is front, this is medium, and this is far back. Yeah, okay, cool. That's all these little details, man. They all perspective doesn't let you hide anything. It is the revealer of flaws. It is unrelenting. It is amazing if you can tame it. Perspective is an amazing tool that adds value to your work. If you can't, it immediately reveals flaws in your work. It's unforgiving. Out there in the swampy bog, that's where the monster generators are that spew undead at your characters for however long the DM decides to torment them with streaming spews of undead. They can wade out there into the rot-filled water and potentially catch a cursed disease that'll exhaust them over time. If they want to go out there and fight undead, otherwise they can be expedient in whatever activities they decide to mess around, fuck around and find out inside here. Go into a mausoleum. When you come out, the DM can spawn another 14 undead for you to fight. If that's the kind of abuse your team can take. The DM is we present them in mobs, and a mob is anywhere from basically 3 to 8 creatures that will move as basically a swarm and engulf a character. And it's a mobile hazard. You don't make attack rolls, and this with these variant rules that we're offering in this book. You don't make attack rolls with each individual creature in the mob, and you don't do an average like the DMG has, like these mob rules where you roll a single d20, and depending on how many creatures are in the mob will be the modifier and the amount of damage that you'll do if the mob hits. But the way that I rebuilt it for this game, a mob is a mobile hazard. That the more creatures that are in the mob, the higher the DC is to avoid damage when the mob moves to within like 5 foot of you. And if they hit you and you fail your saving throw, you're grappled. And they can then swarm and surround you, and you remain grappled until you can break free, and you'll make saving throws at disadvantage because you're grappled, and now you'll end up taking damage each round, but you can kill each individual creature in the mob to reduce the DC to escape and the amount of damage you take if you don't. So the adventure is full of mobile hazards of skeletons, zombies, ghouls, sturges, for example. There's a ton of different creatures, like 8-9 different types of creatures that can be formed into a mob that churns combat encounters into, you kill these things as fast as you can, otherwise if they touch you, dexterity saving throw, fail, damage and grappled, succeed, half damage, and you aren't grappled. So you're playing basically tag and keep away from these hordes of monsters, and once they grab onto you, they'll start automatically dealing damage each turn if you can't escape. So instead of having the DM roll a shitload of dice for really low CR creatures against your 8th level characters that won't make a difference, your 8th level characters are now making dexterity or strength saving throws, because it's technically a grapple thing. So a strength or a dexterity saving throw to keep the fuck away from that mob so it doesn't surround my character. And if all 8, like a maximum mob size of 8 is all the creatures that can surround a medium-sized character. So if you have like a mob of like say 14, at most 8 will be on one character, and the other 6 will then break off as a separate smaller mob to go attack another character. Meanwhile, everyone's trying to hack down these 8 zombies that are on top of like the wizard who's going to get shredded, because it's going to deal like 8 zombies is going to do like 20 points of damage to you if you fail your saving throw. An 8th level wizard's probably going to have like around 50 hit points. So if that wizard gets caught out of position and gets swarmed by a mob, he's got basically 3 rounds to get away before he's going to get deaded. So that makes combat really fucking dangerous for 8th level characters. and makes this more like these large scale regions where you can have a bunch of undead coming after your characters. You can throw like mobs of 3 or 4 at a time at them, and just the players are just making saving throws all the time, which is awesome for the rogue, because the rogue can use evasion. So the rogue is actually really good at baiting, and I think the ranger gets evasion at 7th level, or is that the monk? Anyway, evasion classes can really bait out these mobs and avoid most of the damage if they can make their saves. So it's a really fun way to actually like make the rogue a tank, you know, because he can evade getting gripped, and as long as he stays within reach of them, the horde of zombies is going to try to keep, you know, grabbing that chew toy. So if the team can figure out how to maneuver around these guys in the environment, it's not that big of a threat. You can line them up and then like Burning Hands or Fireball or whatever excessive spell. If you have like spike growth set up, you can start shredding them. Like this is spike growth friendly, because you're trying to maneuver the mob around to get destroyed by playing keep away with them in the environment. If you can set up spike growth or like spirit guardians or something that can basically lawnmower things, that leans into the fantasy, and you're rewarding your characters for using the spells that they fucking want to use. It doesn't ruin your game, it improves it, because you anticipate them doing that stuff, and the monsters are designed to get shredded that way. So that's why we have an endless supply of them coming from these monster generators. If they can chew through 3, say 5 zombies around, between the AoEs and single target attacks to finish off the AoEs that succeeded the saving throw, you can realistically get through 5 of these things around in a team of 4 or 5 people. So that means that the DM is pretty clear to be able to throw mobs of limited, like 6 or like 4 to 6 creatures in a mob is enough of a harassment that's going to keep the character's action economy moving without them immediately getting deaded by a ton of creatures that would then all actually matter whether or not your characters are surviving the encounter or not. Because you could have any number of these, like the sinkholes that we have in here, where there's just like unmarked mass graves that have peeled open and ghouls and ghasts are coming out of it. It's like a mob of 6 skeletons, and then like 2 ghasts on top of it. That's like 3,000 experience points that you'll end up getting out of that, which is a decent, which is like a moderate fight for 7th, 8th level characters. So, fun. it's really fun. Developing mobs instead of dealing damage like that. We had to update. We did some of that in our play testing of the martial powers, because I wanted to make sure that it still worked using the 5e24 rules, and they do. So I think I'm done. I think I've done scraping on the ground here for a little bit. I've just been basically mashing while I've been talking about stuff. Just basically working this stuff working all these splotches into the canvas, and we'll come back through and we'll do detailed work for like the sinkhole, the dirt on the side, and the gristles on the ground, and claw marks, and all that other yabble-de-doop. We'll have all that worked out here eventually. Reel this in a little bit here. There, and now let's drop our guards back in. Yeah, everybody's looking pretty lined up at this point. I think our ratios are looking pretty good. So let's drop her back in here. That is the ground. And we've got dense fog in the distance. Let's keep working this into the canvas. I want to have this come down and touch water. lot of open space up here. I think I want to do spooky sky stuff up there. Excuse me. Sorry about sneezing in your face, guys. In. Just some simple Bob Ross cloud techniques. You know, just layering over layering to help dense the fog up in the distance, and then we'll do like little faces or something like that, like nefarious looking sinister shit in the fog up. Since this is a large blank spot in the illustration, there's a lot of activity down here, but there's nothing going on in this upper quadrant at all. This is basically dead space, so I need to do something interesting with it. So terrifying visages in the sky feels appropriate. But for now, that's where that's at. And we've got our basic ground stuff going on. Now we're at a place where we can work on the tombstones because we're pretty confident. That they're in the right position. And let's go ahead and use 100% here so we can make use of our color. We're going to start off with the darker color so we can distinguish it from the cobblestones in the background, though they are technically the same color. We'll get to that. And get out of the way. Get these guards out of the way. Always getting in the way. It's very flat looking right now, but we'll fix all that. We'll add details. We'll add more details than we probably need to bother with, but we will. Like right now, there's just like shadows, you know. They're gonna be landfills, so we have to straighten all that shit out eventually. But so far, this is looking pretty good. I'm really happy with how this is coming along. That's here, something like that. I don't have to be great in my details here, because this is all gonna get mucked up anyway. Like this. Conveniently facing the back of the tombstone, so I don't have to identify anybody in these illustrations. Like worry about can you read text or anything. That's inconsequential because these are the back of the tombstones. Excuse me for a second. Okay. Life is good. Ooh, yeah, what time is it? Oh shit, it's 8:43. I gotta bounce out of here because I've got dentist stuff to do. So I'm going to let it sit here for now. We've made good progress. This is all structural stuff that was necessary, and it's just gonna make the physics of the piece just work in general. So this is actually really important that we did all this today. I'm really happy with it. Everything's looking really cool. Definitely need to do something with this space up here to make it look, because there's a lot going on below the horizon line. There's too much. We'll obviously have to fix her posture, and she won't be holding weapons. We'll have her more hiding instead of pouncy. But yeah, so far I'm really happy with where we're at with this piece. What happens if I bring the whole of it up? How does that do? think it helps. It adds more volume down here, so we'll have to do, I think, more environmental gritty texture, sort of corrosions and plants and stuff. I think that'll work. I think I want to bring this over. I think a bit. Just actually, let's just make things just a smidge bigger here. I bet that's gonna do really good for us. I'll drop it all down just a bit. Yeah, see that whole quadrant there is just dead fog. So I'll need to do something interesting with that space. But that's it. Okay, I gotta get out of here for now. I'm gonna be back tonight. We're gonna probably like around somewhere between 5:30, 6 o'clock ish. We'll be doing more. We'll be working on Spelljammer. We're going to mess around with the spells. There's a number of notable spells that are in the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document. I want to go back through and make sure that all those spell options are still viable for 5e24 Tasha's or Xanathar, since Tasha and Xanathar are labeled as compatible with 5e24. So I'll respect the spells that still exist inside of there that we have in SCE. I don't need to replace those, but like Kinetic Jaunt, like for example, was from Ravnica. Maybe we can replace that with something else that might be more valuable at that space. Maybe I won't change anything about spell casting. True Strike needs to change, I know that, but like we might not have to change a lot of stuff. But we'll figure that out. So that's what we're going to figure out tonight. We're going to rework the wording if necessary to be compliant with 5e24 language. And then I'll be back tomorrow morning to continue working on this illustration. I will not be here Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, but I will be on doing Spelljammer conversion for 5e24 Thursday night. I have to go downtown on Wednesday and Thursday this week to do corporate stuff at my day job. So I will not be able to be online in the morning like this. So Wednesday and Thursday, but then the rest of the month, Monday through Friday, no problem. So that's it, guys. No, that's not until next week. So yeah, I will be here Wednesday and Thursday this week. It's next week I'll be missing on Wednesday and Thursday. So good distinction there. Anyway, so having said that, I'll be back at no later than 6 o'clock tonight. If you want to catch up with me and see some of the design work that we're working on, like and subscribe. There you go. We do artwork like this until we finish a book, and then we get another book. We start doing the artwork for that one. So, and if I'm between books at the moment, maybe I'll take a tangent. Maybe I'll take a commission or two, or just do some landscape, like me time artwork. That might be a good idea. Maybe I'll take a couple weeks once we finish the artwork for this and I'm building the book in the background. Maybe I'll just do some Bob Ross art, just for the fun of it, and just to cleanse my palette for whatever the next book is going to be. All right, that's it for now, guys. I'm out of here. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me, everybody. I really appreciate y'all. And the big players not going to this figures. An itch ever since I got Chronicles of Eberron that gave proper write-up bastards. So, yeah, they do. They're ridiculously powerful. It's awesome. All right, that's it, guys. I gotta get out of here. Cheers.